guys, welcome to another edition of the
Comedy.
Yeah, thanks for actually tuning in, guys. Just before we carry on, please don't forget to actually like, share, and subscribe, or even comment. So today we'll be talking about
finances, money,
Mula, cash. Yeah. So we received a whole lot of requests from you guys when we did the Q&A about finances. There were a lot of questions and comments about finances, and you guys actually requested us to actually tackle it.
Yeah, so we'll be tackling finances this week, but before we even get anywhere, please note that this is just our personal advice on finances. It's not binding in any way. We're just here to share our own experiences on how we go about with our finances as people personally, and also as a married couple.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at our backgrounds, we both have a finance background,
yep.
So it would be irresponsible of us not to actually
address it, especially if it's been requested.
Yeah. So I think we should actually get to it.
Yep. Yeah, so talking about finances today, I wanna say this, that like I was actually so impressed that there's quite a number of us young people that are quite concerned and want to know more about finances, because it means then we're doing things differently than our parents did it. Not to say that they did anything wrong per se, but it means that we're in a learning process and we want to improve continuously on how we handle our finances. So I really, really like that. And I mean, as a young person, it's very important for you to understand your finances and have a good relationship with your finances, because if you don't, then you are setting yourself up for failure. So I was quite impressed that there's quite a number of us that just want to learn more.
Yeah, and especially if you're about to get into a relationship, right? Or you're about to get married, or you're about to actually get into a courtship, or whatever stage you are. It's very important that we address the issue or the question of finances.
Yeah, because it's always the elephant in the room. Hey, it's never really addressed, but it's important for it to be addressed. Yeah. So I guess maybe the first point that we should start by is just share a little bit of our experience in terms of finances, and the fact that we've always been transparent towards each other about how we handle money. So the principle here before we share our story is that transparency is key when you deal with finances in a relationship. So even if you're not married, by the way, it's important that you set the tone. So if you are dating and you are seeing someone, it shouldn't be a weird thing to discuss finances. It should be comfortable for you guys to just talk about it casually without being binding on anything.
Yeah. So what I like is that, I mean, when you think about it, right? We usually use the word communication, right? And within the word communication, like I see it as an umbrella, right? There's a lot of elements under the word, and finances are actually one of them. Being transparent about your finances and where you actually stand, so that your partner knows where you actually stand, or knows you. It's very important that you actually become transparent, So it's a way of communicating to your partner.
You can't expect that in the dating phase of your relationship, you never talk about finances, you never discuss it, and then you expect that in marriage it's going to be any different. If it's always been, that the neglected topic in your dating days, trust that even in marriage it's going to be exactly like that. And we jumped the gun there a bit, baby, because before I spoke about, talking about just, the communication part of the finances, I wanted us to first discuss the importance of you as a person knowing where you stand financially.
It's very important.
You want to touch on that?
Yeah, so from a background perspective, before the two become one, right? You are by yourself, right? You're an individual. So, and it's very important that you know yourself, right? It's also part of your self-awareness, being self-aware. So you need to do things like your credit, the credit background check, right? Normally, usually I usually do it within 3 months or so, right?
Just to know where you're standing.
Just to know where you actually stand, So it's very important that you as an individual, you actually first align your finances, right? Before you actually come with and actually be transparent to your partner, or before you get someone.
Now a person might be asking, what do you mean by align your finances? We mean that you should know your means, your financial means, by knowing and being clear what income you earn, what expenses you incur on a monthly basis, what are your unexpected expenses, what are your future expenses. So that's where the budgeting element comes into play. And we can discuss that later again when we discuss the combined budget that we have. But it's so important for you as a person to understand your inflows and your outflows on a personal capacity before even getting into any sort of marriage.
And what I mean by that is that you need to be honest with yourself first before you can be honest to anyone else, right?
Yes.
You need to sit down. That's what I mean by aligning. You need to be honest with yourself before you can actually be honest to your partner. So that's what I actually mean.
By honest with yourself, we mean live within your means.
Live within your means,
affordability, and all of that.
Be transparent to yourself.
Yes, before you can be transparent to anyone else, right? Yeah. So I think it's helped us to have that kind of a relationship, baby, whereby we speak when things are rough for me. Even in our dating days, I tell you, hey, baby, this month I don't have much money. Can you come through for me? That type of a relationship, even as girlfriend and boyfriend, has really helped us.
No, it has helped us a lot. I mean, in terms of and the planning behind it, as well. Right. So now that we've actually spoken about being transparent and being honest with yourself, as an individual, so we're gonna just touch on the transition from personal finances or personal budgeting or personal accounts to a joint account, right? So let's just address the issue of having individual accounts versus a joint account when you're in a marriage.
So I think like we said, that the tone before determines how you guys are going to handle your marriage, right? Look, at the end of the day, when you get married, the two is one. So whether you like it or not, your personal expenses and your personal income become the income of the household. So how I look at it is that it's irrelevant whether you keep the money in two separate buckets or you keep the money in one bucket. But the moral of the story is that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because you are spending towards the household expenses, and the income is for the household.
The vision is one.
The vision is one. We're going back to the vision that we spoke about last week. Remember when we were answering the question? At the end of the day, you're moving towards one mission, and the admin of having two accounts versus one is really irrelevant, because you will sit together at the end of the month, like we do. We'll write down your budgets, meaning the expenses of the wife, the expenses of the husband, the income of the husband, and the income of the wife, all total together. And then if you keep the money in separate accounts, you will decide, okay, baby's going to pay for the rent or the bond, the wife is going to pay for groceries or whatever. But the moral of the story is, it doesn't really matter where the money is coming from, as long as
there's
it's working for one mission and vision.
One mission, one vision. And that's what we're actually pushing. So I actually like how you put it in terms of that, it's irrelevant, because at the end of the month, you sit down and you plan. So you actually first reflect on the past month, right? And see that, okay, this is how the past month went, right? And then now, how do we plan for the future? So planning is very important, guys, especially when it comes to money and finances, right? Because that will lead to transparency, right? And by you being transparent, that's when you communicate. Your partner knows where you stand, right? So there are no false expectations that are created
in the marriage.
Yes, and within that period or within that month, if you've got projects, you put them down. Be as transparent as you can. We've got the following projects for this upcoming month, right? And this is what we're gonna actually work on, right? Therefore, if you're working on a tight budget, right, your partner knows where you are, then there won't be unnecessary expectations, because that could lead to conflict. Finances.
And finances is one area where there's literally a lot of conflict. I want to talk about the famous Excel spreadsheets. Will you allow me? Guys, I'm passionate about my Excel spreadsheets.
I think before you actually start, right, it's very important that you sit yourselves down and actually talk on and actually discuss on whose who's going to be actually doing the admin, right, behind the Excel spreadsheets.
So the accountant of the family.
Yeah, so the accountant of the family, you know, and the administrator, the person who's strong with administration, right? And
who's
also
got the discipline as well.
Yes, then the person who's disciplined as well, right? And also, you actually give each other tasks. You know, everyone must play a role. No one must be a spectator, right? It actually also helps because you get to do things together as well. You know, so that's just what I wanted to share.
So I like that you mentioned the different roles, because with us, right, even though I'm the family accountant, even though I am the family accountant, but I have weaknesses even within that. I have very bad spending habits, like shopping and stuff, and I think every girl can relate to this. That's when he comes into play, because when he sees that I'm going up beyond our budget for the month in terms of shopping expenses, then he'll say, hey,
I'm that guy. You're making me look bad.
No, it's not a bad thing.
You're saying I'm that guy, babe.
So I have the strength, but you have the discipline more than I do.
Yeah, so I like that, because it's us working on each other's strengths and weaknesses. Right? And that's what a couple should do, because there's one mission, one vision, one goal.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So this is exactly then how baby and I do things, right? So before we got married, we had separate Excel spreadsheets.
Yes.
So we have a spreadsheet that details income, X, and then it details all the expenses.
Yes.
Now, your expenses, you need to include each and everything.
Don't forget to tell them there's even a surplus or deficit
at the end. Whether we're on a surplus or deficit for that month, right?
Yeah.
So your expenses part, right? There, if you want to get a list that includes everything, the best thing to do is to look at your bank statements. Don't only look at a bank statement for 1 month, but maybe look at like 3 months of bank statements, and note all the expenses that you normally incur, together with all the other funnies like black tax. So you literally need to know everything in that Excel spreadsheet.
Even your allowance.
Your allowance, right?
Your money to have fun, going out money, you need to include it there, So and just be as transparent as you can be. It's very important that one becomes transparent.
Yeah.
Right?
So I've spoken about the Excel spreadsheet in terms of the budgets, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first tab of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
The second tab of the spreadsheet actually has the forecasting. And it has the projects of what we plan to do in the next month, in the next 6 months or so. And where the project is like a big project, then we break it down on a monthly basis, and then we track ourselves in terms of how far we are in terms of contributing towards that project, and how much do we have left to go. So like if you, for instance, plan to go on holiday, so that's where you put in the budget for the holiday. That project number 1 is going to Mauritius this year, and we need to save up 2,000 Rand a month for the next 24 months or whatever, and how far are we doing for this month. So that's a very important thing, and this thing really worked for us a lot during our...
And you must actually scale it, right?
Priorities. Yes,
right?
That's very important, baby. I'd forgotten about that.
You need to actually scale it and say, right, this is the most important project for maybe the year, right? But this is more immediate, right? So you need to always go back and actually readjust and actually rescale everything, right? And actually scale it according to its importance. It's very important, guys.
So if there's like a study loan that you are dealing with, that study loan will go in the second tab, being the project, and I'm guessing that it will be priority number 1, because the aim is to kill all debts before you can actually save up for whatever other projects.
Zero. And also the aim should also be, before you get into a marriage, it's always advisable that you have 0 debt, right? And that's unnecessary debt, like short-term debt, that you don't need at all. So it's always advisable to actually go in there and you guys have cleared out your accounts. And it also depend on the type of marriage, of course, that you actually get into as well.
So like there's some debts that is not really avoidable, like your car and your house. So that's okay. Like you can live with that kind of debt.
Constructive.
That's constructive debt.
But kind of debt is bad debt, but it's constructive debt.
It's constructive. Let's call it that. Even that, I mean, if you're really in a mission to push out all debt, that is also possible to push out before the time limit. Before the 20 years for a loan and before the 5 years for a car.
Way before that, right?
So
that's about it, guys.
I can't believe we've covered everything.
We've actually covered everything that we were asked. So more than anything, I think the rule of the game is transparency, guys. And the more transparent you are, the more you communicate in terms of what's training you, if the month is good, if the month is bad, just be transparent, guys, and then life will be good, you know. But if you
and
keep
live within your means, don't spend anything above what you don't have.
It's very important, It's very important.
Yep. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our Finances 101 lecture. Our money, kaching, mula lecture. But if anything, I hope it was really insightful, and I hope there's a thing or two that can be learned from that. And so from us, it's nothing but love.
Go.